Bob Kramer.
Well, I'd say it's official. We've suspected it for many years, but now I have it in writing. We've suspected that the large national companies would like to put the small independent businessman out of business. I'm not going to tell you where I got this document. I'm not going to tell you what company it's from, but I'd like you to listen carefully to these words. This is the statement of competitive strategy of a large, very successful national chain. This is what it says. It says the main objective is to soften and reduce competitor existence in our market areas and to put pressure on their new stores entering our markets. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a serious problem with somebody who wants to reduce my existence. Here's some more remarks from that same document. Identification of competitors must be made first. They may consist of major retail chains or locally owned mom and pop operations. They're talking about you and me. Nevertheless, if they are allowed to go unchecked and a competitive price comparison isn't made and enacted upon, they can cause a softening of your store's sales and cut into the profitability of your operating income. You and your business are the target of this national chain, and you are targeted for extinction. Now, why is it when large national mega companies move into certain markets that there's some small independent business people that immediately get out the white flag and surrender, just basically get intimidated and give up? They throw in the towel, while others, like myself, continue to thrive and prosper. I've operated a small chain of retail, sewing machine, and vacuum cleaner stores in greater Cincinnati for over 20 years. Let me tell you, like the business you're in, the retail business is extremely competitive. I'm going to share some examples of how I've been able to actually turn the tables on my competitors by being creative and using some of their advertising to actually feed my business. Now that war has been declared, I think the critical question is, who's going to win the war and how are they going to do it? And I think I found that answer by going back to an earlier war. Look at the Revolutionary War. This is why I call myself the revolutionary retailer. I mean, if somebody should have been intimidated, frightened, overwhelmed by their competitors, it was the ragtag colonial soldiers. They weren't the British, a lot like the Walmarts and the Kmarts out there. They had the fancy uniforms. They had almost endless resources. They had the training. They had the superior naval force. If somebody should have wanted to give up and throw in the towel, it was the colonial soldier. So I looked to him for inspiration and for his courage. And I've tried to emulate the strategies that they've used in my business. For example, about 3 years ago, a large electronics chain in greater Cincinnati decided to start selling vacuum cleaners. Well, that's half of my business, vacuum cleaners and sewing machines. So I was frightened because these guys are big in town, and they probably spend in 1 week on advertising what I'll spend in a year. So I was terrorized because I thought, well, these guys are big, they're sharp, they're intelligent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was really frustrated when about 2 weeks after they started selling vacuum cleaners, I noticed a full-page ad in the Cincinnati Enquirer where they're advertising a Eureka 1400 series vacuum cleaner for $49.95. My wholesale cost as an independent dealer was $54.70. Now, one thing I've learned the hard way is the only way you're going to get satisfaction is if you put some type of action into your reaction. So that's what I did. I was at that store at 10 o'clock with the ad because I wanted to get an education how these guys do this. I knew they were going to try and sell me something more expensive. Nobody wants to sell things below cost. So I'm going to go learn from this fierce enemy of mine. So I get to 10. I show the ad to the gentleman that greets me. I said, I'd like to see this vacuum cleaner. It seems like an excellent value. He said, well, let me get Jim, because Jim is the head of the vacuum cleaner department. I thought, well, great. I'm going to get to meet the expert. So Jim comes over. I show him the ad. I said, I'd like to see this vacuum cleaner. This company, along with some help from Eureka, had spent $9,800 that morning in the newspaper. He had no idea there was an ad in the paper. He had no idea which vacuum cleaner was on sale. The fellow that I was afraid of knew nothing about vacuum cleaners. Literally, he knew as much about the vacuum cleaners in that store as a security guy at the airport, and when he checks to make sure you got the right luggage, matches numbers. because that's what he did. He took the ad and saw 1412, and he goes down the line. And he was checking hang tags on sweepers that I knew immediately were worth $150, $200. Finally, he finds the one. He says, oh, here it is, 1412. And I could tell he was real proud of himself. He said, here it is. I said, well, Jim, how many of these do you have? It's an excellent deal. They might make great gifts. He says, well, let me check. So he walks over to the computer, types it in, and says, we have 6. I said, great, I'll take 6. So he says, well, let me go in the back room, make sure we really do have them. So that's what he does, and indeed they bring him out on a cart. He's got all 6 of them for me. Now I'm getting a bonus, because it said with each vacuum cleaner, if you bought a vacuum cleaner, you would get 3 packs of bags free. So I'm waiting. Now I got 18 packs of bags coming. So we get to walk over to the spinner rack, the little thing they turn, and they have all the bags hanging on them. And again, the fellow in my mind I was afraid of, who was a serious threat, knew nothing about the bags. He was checking little bag packages about this big to go in a vacuum cleaner this big. I took F and G. Finally, he finds them. There's like 6 packs. He says, well, I don't have 18. I said, that's fine. Just send me the other 12. Okay. See, I'm having a good time. My old strategy when something like this would happen would be to be discouraged and be back at the store, curled up in a ball under a blanket, depressed. How can I compete? Or I'd whine to my rep, complain. This isn't fair. You give him $9,000 in advertising. You give me a keychain, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't work. Whining doesn't get you anywhere. I found out it takes the same amount of energy to be a whiner as it does a winner. Why not be a winner? So I was having fun. We get to the cash register. I thought, well, I don't want to pay sales tax on this. So I'm buying these for resale. So I thought it's time to make a more formal introduction. So I said, Jim, I'm Bob Kramer from Kramer Sew and Vac. Here's my resale certificate. I'm buying these to resell. And he was embarrassed then, kind of disconcerted, particularly when he got to the cash register. He said, well, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to ring something without tax. I have to get the store manager. I thought, well, fantastic. You want to meet your competitors. You want to be friends. We're all friends. Let's go. Store manager comes out. I show him my resale certificate. He didn't like it because it didn't have their store logo on it. He gets his out and we buy it. Now I'm thinking to myself, well, as long as my competitor likes to sell merchandise below cost, let's make his day as happy as possible. So I got the old American Express and hit him for the extra 3%. Now let's look at what I've accomplished. Instead of being discouraged, since I'm putting some action into my reaction, I now have been able to purchase 6 vacuum cleaners below my normal wholesale cost. I didn't pay any tax. I didn't pay any freight. I didn't have to buy the 18 to get free freight. I didn't have to buy the 36 to get the free keychain to balance the scales with the $9,000 in advertising. So I'm having a great day, and he's having a real bad day because now he's got a full-page ad and no merchandise. He's going to have a lot of unhappy customers calling and coming in the store. And actually, this advertising is good. It gets me excited now and energized. That's what you need to do when you're challenged by a competitor, is harness this energy and use it proactively. Because it's getting my phone to ring. People who had no concept or no idea of shopping for a new vacuum cleaner are now in the market because they see this full-page ad. They call the store. Of course, no, we don't have any. We're sorry, we're out of them. So they call my store. Says, do you sell the Eureka Model 1412 vacuum cleaner? I says, you know I do. In fact, I just got in a fresh shipment. And she says, well, what do you sell it for? I says, well, our everyday low sale price is $59.95. I want to make at least 20%. That's fair profit. And she says, well, yeah, but don't you know that so-and-so's got it on sale today for $49.95? I says, yes, but do they have any? Sally Shopper says, well, no, they don't. They're out of them. I said, well, when I don't have any, my price is $39.95. Come on over and shop. You can take one home. And that's what she did. The customers came into my store. And very few consumers, when they're properly shown the features and benefits of the better quality products, will leave with the least expensive one. So I was able to convert this to my benefit. Another example I'm going to share is how I was able to get $7,200 worth of Yellow Page advertising for free. And trust me, it didn't come from the Yellow Pages. For many years in Greater Cincinnati, there was a sewing machine center called Brandt's Sewing Center. Their slogan was, Brandt's has got the town sewed up. Some of you from Cincinnati might remember the company. They were there forever, had a good reputation, they were well known. And in recent years, the company was sold 2 or 3 times. The last owner was up in Chicago. It was the owner of a sewing machine wholesale parts company. And he decided to close the store. So I called him, and I said, Jerry, I heard you're closing branches. And he said, yeah. He says, I just think I'm going to stick to the wholesale. I didn't really enjoy the retail business. And I said, you know, you've got a really nice Yellow Page ad. It would be a shame to have that go to waste. What I'm willing to do, if you'll assign that phone number to me, I'll buy all the parts that I need to satisfy those customers from you. And that's what he did. And I had fun with this, because that ad was in for like 8 more months. It was a 3-quarter column ad worth $900 a month. Now today, the consumer shops more aggressively than ever. I mean, when they're looking for a sewing machine or a vacuum cleaner, they'll call all over the city, all over the country. If they got a good deal from Sprint, they'll call all over the world to get the best price. So they're letting their fingers do the walking through the Yellow Pages. And she goes down the ads and looks at them, and she calls me. It says, what do you sell the Singer Model 844 for? And I says, oh, we got that on sale for $299. Oh, fine, hangs up. Now, this has happened so many times, I'm just basically waiting for the second line to light up, because I had those phone calls transferred into 01, so I knew when a consumer was calling off my competitor's ad. So Sally Shopper calls back a few minutes later after she's worked through some others. I answer the phone. I recognize her voice, so I changed mine a little bit. And she says, how much do you sell the Singer Model 844 for? And I says, oh, our everyday low price is $399. And she says, oh, yeah? She says, well, I can go and get that at Kramer's on sale this week for $299. I says, no way. You can't. He's losing money. He can't do it. I said, Sally, look, if you can buy that from Mr. Kramer for $299, you just go do it. And that's what she did. And I loved her for it. Got a lot of business. Now, if I had more time, I'd share many strategies I've used similar to these to advertise and promote my business on very little expense. And a couple key things I want you to remember. One is a formula. And it's E plus R equals O is the formula. I'd like you to write it down and take it home, because it served me well in my personal life. It served me well in my business life. What happens with so many of us, we blame lousy outcomes in our life or on our business on outside events that occur. Like a competitor moves into town. My sales are down. I can't compete because they buy them for less. Or I can't do this. I can't do that. And they're whining and they're complaining. Did this happen? That's why my sales are so lousy. They blame the outcome they get on the events that occurred. And see, it's not true. The correct formula is E plus R equals O. It's the event that happens plus your reaction to it that equals the outcome. In both of these cases, particularly with this ad, selling machines below cost, it used to sort of destroy me mentally and financially until I found out I can react to it differently, put some action into my reaction, and have a positive outcome. Remember that. The other thing I think we do, which is a mistake, is when we look at these competitors. Like when I looked at this big electronics change, I imagined them to be destroying me. Because here's what we do. When we look out there and we scope the competition, we look out there with our binoculars. What does it do? It enlarges them. It makes them huge. And then what do? We look at ourselves, in our own store, our own business. I don't care what business you're in. We look this way. Oh my gosh, that little tiny guy. How can he possibly compete against this great big giant? See, if you take a greatly distorted, enlarged image of a competitor and then compare a shrunken image of yourself, no wonder people get discouraged and want to throw in the white towel of surrender. So I don't care what business you're in. I don't care if you're an accountant, a banker, an association executive, a meeting planner, an attorney, a chiropractor, a plumber. I want you to realize that today, if you want to survive and prosper in today's competitive market, you have to be smart, tough, aggressive, and innovative. I wish you all the best of success.